Good morning, everybody, and welcome back to the first episode of Market Check of the week. I'm Snorlax. You guys also know me as Tommy. I'm joined by Big Louie, Prometheus, Max, and Chef Jackus, of course. Reminder that there is no second best live YouTube stream to talk about the markets, brought to you by none other than BB. But we got quite a bit to talk about today, guys. I mean, it's a brand new year. I know we were kind of waiting for this market to make a decision. Is this the decision? Is this a liquidity run that we're seeing right now? We're going to talk about it on today's show. Are we entering a fresh uptrend? Or like I said, is this a stab at liquidity before we see some real red in January? I think it's been quite an interesting start to the year, which is really, I think, all we can hope for at the end of the day, that we're finally getting volatility. We basically got 4 to 6 weeks of just complete nothingness. Not just in crypto, but also with equities for the most part as well. I mean, there were maybe some small caps that moved a little bit in the process, but now we can finally talk about some volatility. But before we can do that, guys, before we can talk about the potential melt up or imminent bear trend, I'm going to need you to hit the like button for us. It's a new year. We got green candles. You've got no excuses. Let's put the bottom in on the like button. Let's run it up today. And yeah, if you guys hit the like button enough, maybe we've got some alpha in store for you. I don't know. I don't know. I'm sure we've got something though. But welcome back. We're going to have a great show for you guys today. Just kind of talking about what we've seen thus far, you know, not just today and really this week thus far, but also throughout the new year. I mean, we saw altcoins really kind of take the onus a few days ago when they started ripping pretty much on January 1st or January 2nd. Some of that is mechanical, right? When we talk about funds allocating to new assets, they have the mandate to do so at the beginning of the year. They've had free cash, or they had cash freed up maybe towards the end of last year that they wanted to protect those gains. But now they have, you know, like I said, that mandate to redeploy. Is this just a product of that, with mechanical squeezes on altcoins that have really been beaten down for weeks and months, and for some even years? I mean, for the ones that have been beaten down for years, let's be honest, those are probably not coming back. But for the purpose of crypto, we're going to talk about Bitcoin, ETH, and obviously things like Solana and BNB as well. But Bitcoin and ETH really challenging these highs from early to mid-December. For me, that's kind of like your level where if you're consolidating above that, kind of have to be like very bullish and very risk on. When we look at equity markets, and we have to talk about it today, what we're seeing in financials, Morgan Stanley, JP Morgan, Goldman Sachs, I think the ETF is, what is it, like XLF, melting higher today, up 2 or 3% on the new year. We've got rate cut narrative. We've got economic reacceleration narratives. Bank stocks, I think, are doing their part to continue to support these narratives. And if that is going to be the case, right, if banks are about to be making these very aggressive moves higher, we're probably going to not only see the S&P follow them higher, but we're also likely to see, I think, these riskier assets begin to not just bottom, but begin to move higher as well. So we can talk about, you know, are we looking at shorting a shoulder maybe in a few months? Or, you know, are we talking about potentially recovering back to new highs? I certainly think that it will be an interesting conversation on today's show. I think crypto still does need quite a bit of elbow grease on a higher time frame, but we are seeing, I think, some very encouraging signs throughout the asset class. So let's talk about it, guys. What are we seeing in the markets today? And what's been really picking at everybody's brain over the last few days?
Not all at once, guys. Everyone eager in the new year to jump in. I suppose the ones jumping in should be the guys with the like button, as you said, Tommy.
It's true.
Market's green. People should be excited. Although, are you guys excited?
I am excited.
Excited for this year?
I mean, I'm not really like somebody who's going to celebrate the turn of the new year. I kind of hated 2025, to be honest, though. So I like, from that standpoint, I am excited that it's 2026. I'm excited that we're seeing some real volatility in the market, Jackus. especially, you know, what we are like the nature of the volatility that we're seeing in equity today.
I had actually 3 of my stocks hit new all-time highs today. So I feel pretty well, and the others are in either green or made new swing highs. So in that sense, I'm pretty excited. On the other hand, I'm pretty excited for crypto in 2026, but I still remain defensive and not as much excited for the next few months. But yeah, it's definitely nice to get some volatility. You know, the Christmas chop probably killed the mood of lots of people, and getting in volatility is always exciting. Gives you stuff to talk about, gives you levels, more of it.
Yeah, I'm in the same camp as Jack. It's still defensive. You know, I wouldn't even consider Friday the first trading day of the year. I feel like this week is going to be like the real first trading day for equities and stuff like that. I'm excited to finally get some signal. Those last couple of weeks of the year with the holidays, Christmas, New Year's, all those broken up weeks, just wasn't given enough signal. I think we're going to get a lot of signal coming into the next 1 to 2 weeks. And we'll see, like, are equities going to melt up, or was this like a float up into the end of the year? I think we're going to find out soon enough. And I'm just happy to get some signal out of this market and get some volatility, like Tommy said. So whichever way, I'm happy because I hate the crab.
Snip, snip.
Snip, snap.
Yeah,
good. So cute when they fight.
Yeah. Good morning, guys. Happy New Year. I mean, my systems are super bullish right now. So my opinion is with the robot. So we've spent the past couple weeks kind of following closely that really conscientious effort that was being put in by the bulls. I don't really see any reason to be super careful here. Like the human brain in me, the human technical analyst in me sees the supply overhead, and like I see the uphill battle. But I've always advocated, like, as ugly as things look in crypto as they have in the past, and as sometimes they still just do look ugly right now, we all kind of have a way of getting married to a bias, whether up or down. And that's when I kind of lean into my system that doesn't have years of market trauma and bias attached to it. It just looks at flows. It just looks at positioning. It just looks at like the net skew and delta of the market, and it makes decisions based off of that. It doesn't care about patterns. It doesn't care about horizontals. It just looks at flows. And I look at what happened specifically in Q4 of last year in crypto. And I say to myself, okay, the October 10th massacre really shouldn't have happened. And I think we got punished because it did happen. And I think we had, a couple months of fallout from that pushed prices below fair value where they should have been. I also think that was further accentuated by tax loss harvesting in December. And now we're seeing some very aggressive early year repositioning and short squeezes across the board. And equities still look solid enough to me. I think, Tommy, in your intro, either the intro here or we were just on our morning call with our Discord, I can't remember. It's all one big hodgepodge to me now, but Tommy was highlighting financials, which I don't really even watch, which is why your value as a trader is finding a bunch of guys that watch a bunch of different things, because you can't monitor everything. The market is too big. It's too vast. What financials are doing right now to start the year is nothing short of optimistic. as a forecast. So I think when I look at the fallout, of Q4 in crypto, and then the positioning in Q4 for crypto as a whole, and you sort of combine that with the picture of rates dropping, liquidity conditions improving, and banks starting to perk up first week of the year, my systems were all kind of sniffing this out going back 3 or 4 weeks even. I say I'm not going to be bearish here until I have a real reason to be, which is some sort of local shift of trend, break of structure, some clear, over aggressive, overzealous longs coming in, which we're seeing some aggression, but it's nothing that I would consider to be, an anomaly or, concerning at this point. But then I kind of default back to like the human aspect of this, and I say, well, we pump basically off the yearly open. We've seen this before, so it's not impossible that we get some sort of early year flush. It doesn't have to happen. We've seen it go both ways, but for right now, I'm just going to kind of let my systems determine my bias. Right? I don't have an edge over them. Or over it. So, I mean, I've been pretty clear. Like I've got perps longs flowing from lower. I've got shit coins that are ripping off the lows, which is great. Still have a lot they still have a lot of work to do. But at the same time, the start to the year is very encouraging, and it'd be really difficult for me to imagine something like a Pepe that's up right now 70% ish off of its yearly open, somehow retracing that and putting in a move below that low. I think that would be incredibly unlikely unless majors really turn around here and start nuking, which again, I default to my systems and I say, they're not looking like that's about to happen. It just isn't. It could change tomorrow, but as of right now, it's not. So the wind is at the bulls' backs right now. We'll see if they can stick the landing. It's only 5 days into January, but my tone is really that of a bullish one for now. So I think if we are going to see things really rip from here, maybe expect a little bit of like, altcoin consolidation and like momentum oscillator reset today, tomorrow, Wednesday, and by the end of the week, we should be higher. So we'll see what happens, but we're starting to conquer levels that I think are pretty important, right? And I also highlighted this, one of the market check episodes last week, or maybe the week before. It all kind of blends together. If we are going to see crypto kind of officially and formally invalidate the 4-year cycle, meaning Bitcoin rallies to new highs from here this year, which again, it's a long year. It's January 5th. Altcoins are probably due for some major outperformance if that is the case. And it would probably look more akin to, the summer 2021 range low where Bitcoin was down 55%, scammed up, made a new high at 69K. And we saw altcoins like Solana put in a 10X, right? So I don't know what the move will look like. Honestly, anybody's guess could be the right one. For me, it's more about just recognizing the most probable, like the high probability direction of Bitcoin and ETH, hoping that it's a crazy right tail move to the upside, which I don't know if it will happen or it won't. Nobody knows the magnitude of a move, but just being on the right side of the market, up or down, and then hoping that we get a tail event in that direction, right? That's where the big money is made. I don't know. I don't have a TP level. I don't have a risk off level. I can draw out a horizontal and be like, yeah, supply here. Maybe it matters. Maybe it doesn't. But right now, I think that the bulls have the wind at their back to start the year, and we'll see how long that lasts.
Well said. Well said. I think everybody's a little scared to follow you up there, Max. I lean in a pretty similar camp. Love to see the bullish price action one off the yearly open. I mean, thank the Lord, right? After we had 7 weeks of arguably some of the nastiest, choppy, grindy price action I've ever seen from a localized perspective. In Bitcoin, we were essentially pinned to 87K for 4 weeks, really the majority of December. And what we're seeing right now is, what I was kind of calling for was an unwind and short positioning going into the beginning of the year. I think we're going to probably see a little bit more. I like what Tommy has said, and Tommy will probably get into it, but seeing some alts cool off here locally would make sense. Let majors kind of take the reins and then see some form of like localized, or not localized, but some form of congruent pump, right? Where everything kind of moves up together seamlessly. I'm still bullish or bearish high time frame, excuse me. I recognize again that the VFP is hard to fade, right? The VFP is telling me that things are going green, the system's, going green. So I did allocate some positioning today just based off of my conviction in the VFP. Bought some spot ETH and, just had to be done, right? Can't fade my boy. And then with that being said, I think you have to be really careful with altcoins. And I think you have to be even more careful with a lot of on-chain names. Like we have to think that, again, like half this market are people that only make money during on-chain season. And a lot of those KL grifters literally had their portfolio bleed minus 90% for the last 3 months. And as soon as they get that trigger that, we're, seeing green across the board, they're going to be back in mass extraction mode. And you just got to be pretty careful on chain. And I think that with liquidity being even thinner than it's been at any other point this cycle, you have to be even more careful on chain. But if you can find quality projects, then you're probably going to do very well.
I think the fact that we're seeing financials move the way that they are, like that is just not at all bearish, man. It's just not. You want to see signs that liquidity is re-entering the market to get long risk. And I've talked about VIX futures ad nauseum over the last few months, so I won't do that today. But we're kind of seeing like the other side of that, where VIX futures go down, financials go higher on a narrative of like, all right, well, what's the narrative for 2026? Are we about to go into a recession? Are we going to see unemployment, cause this market to move lower? And banks are telling you right now that at least the people buying them think that we're heading into a period of economic reacceleration, along with rate cuts, which are ultimately like, these are very liquidity positive things. So I would just say that I think the biggest issue for crypto has been the same for the last few weeks, though. It's like asset selection. There are going to be a lot of altcoins that even if we are about to melt up, there are altcoins that will not make new highs versus where they were trading at a few months ago. And that is a process this market has kind of been undergoing for, basically like 2 years at this point. But I'm sure in the wake of 1010, you're going to see that have like an even more pronounced impact on the altcoin market. It's going to be important to pick coins that are actually going to capture value moving forward. And I would say, you're kind of seeing by what people are already bidding, what those could be. Some of them might be mechanical squeezes because they were overshorted, slow bleeding for a long time, but there are some altcoins where I can point to them and be like, yeah, I feel like I have conviction that would go higher. But most of them, it's like, shit, what do I long? But I feel like equities are much clearer in that, you can get away with longing weak assets much more so than you can with crypto. Like the risk reward is just way better.
Yeah, I think we'll know a lot more by the end of this week. I really do. I mean, some altcoins are putting in huge moves over the weekend. You'll want to see majors ramp really hard this week, is what you'll want to see. They can chill today, tomorrow, little Tuesday chop, whatever. But you'll basically want to see majors start to move. Like, so basically it's just going to be this little dance back and forth. Shit coins pump. Then you see that money flow into ETH, like majors, whatever. Pick your mate, Sol, ETH, doesn't matter. You want to see ETH pump. Then you'll want to see, another rotation into shit coins. Then you'll get some days where they pump together. But you will need to see majors find some legs here soon. I mean, they're moving up a bit. But I mean, you'll want to see Bitcoin up, 96, 97, 98K. You'll want to see ETH 3,500, things like that pretty soon here. And I think that should happen this week. I don't know how you guys feel about the timing. Obviously, that can be the toughest part. But I think given the shitcoin moves that we saw this weekend, you'll want to see some of that capital flow back into majors to really confirm that we are going to move higher.
Yeah, I agree. I think if the bulls are in control or want to be, because I don't think they are right now, except like lower time frames, then they really BTC needs to be smashing the current highs by like 3K gut candle or something. It needs to break like to 97, 98 ideally. And then we can discuss that, this is a impulsive reversal, which would be nice. It still wouldn't be quite, being above 100K, but it's a start. But I just think that there is so much more work to be done before really getting excited. Not that I would not want to, because this asset class definitely, I would even dare to say was a thing. It really diverged from the macro assets in Q4 of last year. Now being last year 2025, but that's when it was supposed to, really stay up. Maybe not go parabolic, all right, but I don't think BTC should have been trading sub 100K. I don't think ETH should be, reclaiming the range that it's been in 2000. Sorry, for the past 5 years since 2021. So definitely the market owes us a thing there, but I think it has now way more work to be done. And I'm saying this as someone who got excited way too many times in my past about local moves within ranges. Technically, BTC is still trading below yearly open of 2025. I think it's gonna trade slightly higher though. I think it's gonna sweep those December highs. Not so sure about ETH. I think we might going to see a decent divergence between the two. But yeah.
What do we make of ETH BTC here? Take a look.
I wish it would be otherwise though, again, as I said. But again, I just think crypto, even to remotely begin to recover, it really requires the stock market to just keep sending hard, in my opinion, because we know that each time that equities drop just a little, we know what it means for crypto. But we'll see. Perhaps this is the time.
Yeah, who do we got as keyboard cat right now? sorry. I just had to make that joke. I mean, I don't know how to feel about like ETH Bitcoin here necessarily, although, I have been kind of using Bitcoin dominance as a signal to figure out like, all right, are we going lower? Are we going higher as far as USD pricing goes? And I'm going to keep saying, I think if we break down below like 57% on Bitcoin dominance, it is likely that the bottom is in because of what that would imply for altcoins. And I do think that if we are going to see prices move higher, ETH's probably going to outperform Bitcoin. It might take it a little bit before that actually happens, but I do think that's what you would see play out. ETH is down more from the highs, relatively speaking. I think it's got more price appreciation potentially to go in this cycle if we are going to see financials melt up. I mean, that's like the recipe for ETH to pump. At least it was during 2021, right? Like low rates, liquidity being very free flowing typically is going to be something that benefits ETH more asymmetrically than Bitcoin. So yeah, I'm just going to stick to that, Max. But I would say if Bitcoin dominance can flip 57% and break down below that, then I would feel very bullish on ETH Bitcoin.
Would you guys make of the fact that we've basically rallied since like the hour one of this year and haven't seen a single wick on the yearly? I think those levels will be important, and historically they, the price does tend to oscillate around the level for at least, January.
Mhm.
Do you think they'll get retested? And if so, what implications will it have on price?
So I have all these yearly opens saved here. I made a post about it, I think last week or 2 weeks ago. Actually, I need to update this because it wasn't even, it's right here. So we do have a tiny, tiny wick below, but obviously now we're on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Use yearly open levels indicator. It kind of outlines them long in time, and you can just set the yearly open levels. Yeah, the first one, and then you just set your year.
Oh, I see.
If you double click the level, indicator. Yeah.
Okay, I see. I mean, we can go back to 2020 and look at them. We can go to
2018.
Go to 2018, look at them. I mean, 2018 was one, two, three, four, five, and then you lost it and then nuked. Could do that, I guess. Down here, it's 2019. Consolidated, dinked around for, a few months, then ripped. I don't really think contextually we're anywhere near this, but 2020 pumped hard off of it. COVID swept it. 2021, obviously, like mega bull market, just basically pumped off of it, came back, tested it. It's just a bullish pivot for years.
Those clean yearly open retests in 2021.
2022, basically nuked off of it, trapped some buyers above the high, bear market. If we are going to be super bullish, it's going to look like 2023 right here, where we effectively just kind of like launched off of it and then did not come back to it. If we are going to be bullish.
It looks like ETH right now, actually.
It does, actually. Like structurally, I see that.
Yeah. 2024,
up, trap below, pump. 2025, nothing, just up, down, up, down. 2026, like you can see pretty clearly, like we've basically just gone up right off of it, which can be concerning. The optimist will view it like this. It even looks somewhat similar, right? Like just kind of like the this thing. Like the optimist will look at it and go something like this, You would look at this and just be like, yeah, like we're basically just like doing this, That's what the optimist will draw. But, it's never going to play out exactly the same. So obviously kind of take it with a grain of salt. When I look at ETH, I actually think this structure looks kind of like this. If we are going to be super bullish on ETH, I actually think this kind of looks similar, like this type of move. So, I mean, we really, if we are going to just like launch, we probably need to see some follow through this week from majors, just given the move in shitcoins, right? Like you don't want to see that move in shitcoins without majors following through pretty quickly after. So we'll see what happens. I'll show you guys. My ETH, my best high time frame ETH strategy is now back into the green. It was formerly neutral to risk off beginning end of August. We haven't had a green candle or like a buy signal since August, and now we are in the green. So I don't think that should be taken lightly. But like locally anything can happen, but higher time frame, when you look at this system, we had 4 or 5 months of neutral to risk off, and this is the first sign of life that we've seen since then. It doesn't mean we have to go up immediately, but it does mean this is a very important structure to see follow through on. Because if we go back to neutral here, we're going to end up nuking really, really hard, right? So I still just lean with the system. Like there's a very conscious effort from bulls being put in here. The system got me long, lower than here on Bitcoin and on ETH. And I'm not really interested in fading it. If the system goes back to neutral, then I'll be a little bit more cautious. But the move in shitcoins, pretty revealing to me. Also, Tommy pointed out the move in financials. I think sending the right message to start the year. I think that stocks look good. Like the Russell looks really constructive here. I'm not really interested in fading this at all, personally. If my system goes back to neutral, then I'll come on here and be like, yep, bulls are weak and pathetic. They failed again. But
what you are saying is that you are following your own strategy. How dare you?
How dare I? How dare I follow a robot, man? He's flipping his bias again. Yeah, I was presented with new data. I did flip when presented with new information. You're right. You got me.
I had a tweet about this yesterday, Max.
What'd you say?
I said my New Year's resolution is to stop over-explaining my trade or my market thoughts solely because people can't conceptualize the idea of path dependency.
And for all the listeners out there in the the YouTube live stream, if you're confused on Tommy's theses, trust me, so are every single one of us up here on this panel.
Let me cook. Let him cook.
That's
I want to pose this possibility to the panel because I know it's something that we talked about a really long time ago. We've been talking about it for a long time, like really since mid 2024. The idea that ETH was following Bitcoin's last cycle. I want to revisit that. because the structures are not the same, right? They have diverged a lot, kind of, when we look back at Bitcoin's cycle towards like the end of 2019 and then probably the second half of 2020. There's been this big divergence. And I would like to pose this possibility that ETH is actually still doing this, that we're actually still kind of following this path for the market, but we diverged because of the Trump pump and because of the TCO pump. And that those caused divergences potentially from what Bitcoin was able to do in 2019. But I'm basically saying, like, what if the market is kind of coming down from like an extended version of DeFi summer, or already did, and now we're in that low volatility choppiness before we're about to see the market really mark up higher?
Are you saying this, Tommy?
I mean, maybe not quite like straight up in a straight line, but
Well, okay, yeah. So this isn't linear. So let me just adjust this quick. But like this kind of bottom over here, I'll just put it in log mode, whatever. It's fine. Are you talking about like this kind of structural bottom, you know?
yes.
I mean, bro, I would have so much fun. Like, that'd be, I mean, put that where it belongs, you know? Like, that is, give me that. Just like a prolonged version of this garbage over here.
I mean, they sent it down randomly. Why not send it up randomly, right?
I mean, that's what I was kind of saying in my intro, is like, you don't know the magnitude of the move that's under the surface. Like, I think it's just about kind of positioning with the wind at your back, and then hoping you get the best possible tail event with that directioning, or, like that direction. So it's like, I won't rule it out, man. I mean, as scammy and horrific as this market has been to the downside, could easily get some sort of buoying effect to the opposite side. It's reflexivity. Tommy's interview.
My worries, Max, is that like the approach, like, it would be fun. The problem is that whenever you think like they scammed it down, they will scam it up. Doesn't usually pay longer term. But I hope it works, because crypto definitely deserves to be higher, or at least the market participants do. The 5 years of range on ETH has been brutal. If you're gonna look at and I see that you have the 12 months time frame there. If you're gonna click it, the ETH candle is the most brutal yearly candle I have seen. It's the literal description of Darth Maul sweeping both bears and bulls. The reality is that both bulls and bears are trying to gloat, like who was more right. And obviously, in the latest quarter, bears got the upper hand, but in reality, it was truly a snip snap. And they are so cute when they fight, Mr. Crab laughing.
I mean, you talked about this one this morning on the call, Jackus.
Yeah.
Like, this quarterly breakout that we had, just to be immediately met with, from quarterly high to low, a minus almost 50% drop. That is fucked up, man. Like, that is not typically what you would expect to see a quarterly breakout after how many quarters of consolidation above this level, going back to here. It was 17 quarters of consolidation, a breakout, and then a minus 50%, swing.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild when you look at it in that respect.
And in that sense, I'm still like very happy the fact that, and obviously, I was like, you guys remember, I was looking for the capitulation in Q1 25, then the upside from the lows. And I'm happy I remained bullish with the breakout because, hey, like, why would you fade it? And yes, it worked, but I don't think it was the right decision. But yeah, it's brutal. And now we are back in the range. And I think it will. I don't think we are in a bear market. Let me be clear. Lots of people say that we are or have been in a bull market or bear market. And I think just like the yearly candle, we've been in a crap and in a range since 25. And so what I think happens is that this market, ETH, will continue to range for a little longer. But essentially, and hopefully, it will break to the upside and lead for a space adoption. But right now, we've accepted back in it. That's my point.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to respect the levels, no matter how unfair they might be.
What is that? ETH vol?
Mm-hmm.
God, I hate vol shorters so much. I have so much. I don't have beef with the bears or bulls. Just if you short volatility, I hope you lose everything.
I don't have any beef with you. I just hope you lose everything. I mean, if you look at ETH divided by ETH vol, you've effectively been in a giant range forever, man. Forever. But I think eventually this will break to the upside. Right. So let's look at this. I mean, this kind of looks like it's getting ready to break higher at some point, Let's look at this. So let's look at the range highs, right? It's got a pretty positive correlation with, with ETH. Getting close to that range high again.
I see somebody inspired you, Max.
Mm-hmm. He did. The Bitcoin chart's really interesting as well.
Mm-hmm.
But, I look at this and I say, if we do see ETH paired against its volatility as the denominator, it's like you should expect to see ETH finally break out of this godforsaken, whatever this is, right?
I personally don't think it comes without a capitulation. But I hope it does. I just don't think so.
Tommy, we have a special request.
Oh God! You
Show
don't
us
want
your
all my
object tree,
emotions to
Tommy. Reveal your tree.
I'm not revealing the tree, but I've shown I think the optimistic outlook on this show before. It's like equities, for a large part, structurally are mimicking what Bitcoin did during the 2017 to 2018 cycle. Like, the similarities are just they're way too pronounced for me to ignore. And yeah, I mean, if we're ripping higher, I think people are going to try to call a top at like 7,000, 7,200, maybe even like 7,600. And at the same time, I think the sentiment would be that in that scenario, you see Bitcoin and crypto form a big shoulder. And I think that would be, I think they're just going to get their face ripped off if they're trying to short that. because my view on the market has been we are either consolidating before our capitulatory leg down, in which case I think if you are going to see that, like the bear case for majors needs to be like imminent downside. Imminent. I don't mean in like a week. You can't just consolidate here, in my opinion, and then just send down. I think you need to pretty much have a sharp reversal from what we've seen over the last few days, and that turn into a capitulation leg. And if you get that right, like lean into it, lean into the mid time frame downside that we've seen since October, and equities would catch up very quickly. But if you don't see that, I mean, my bias with equities has been if they can't send it down, it's a beach ball underwater. But I will say, like everybody shit on me because I was calling for downside at the end of September and in October. And now the response is kind of similar to me saying that I think we can see upside in the market. Like it's kind of that we can't see that happen, or that it should not happen. And maybe it shouldn't happen, right? Like nothing about the last few weeks or months makes any sense. I think that everybody is viewing crypto from the standpoint that, like crypto sold off and it's liquidity sensitive. Therefore, it's probably leading a downturn in equities. And that can still technically turn out to be true. But what I think it would be the real psyop is if actually crypto sold off asymmetrically because liquidity did decline. And you saw this with small caps and equities as well. But those liquidity issues are now reversed. Like we're seeing liquidity positive impacts into equities right now through VIX futures, through financials. And while equities just consolidated at the highs, you got like this 30 to 40 to 50% pullback on crypto majors out of nowhere. And I think that would be the real, like that's just as equally plausible for me to say like, yeah, that's a psyop that looked very obvious in hindsight, but I don't know. We'll see how it plays out, guys. I am going to keep leaning into the fact that financials would not be breaking out if the market were getting ready to enter a bear market. That doesn't really compute in my brain.
When you look at Russell too, at this point, I don't see what's bearish about this chart. This looks like it's grinding higher before it starts to absolutely just start tearing. So
yeah. There is nothing bearish about this. It's really us getting played in this space. Like ETH should have been at 5K right now. Should have.
So if that is the case, and ETH should have been at 5K, beach ball underwater, maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, it's like if October 10th never happened, who knows where we'd be at,
True.
Max, I think it was a mix of October 10th and also like you had these OG whales selling so much Bitcoin that a lot of people, I think, felt like that was, it was almost like this self-fulfilling prophecy where you had so many ancient whales sell and then maybe some others missed the top. We break down and you're thinking, oh shit, I missed the top of the 4-year cycle. Let me sell. And it exacerbates that sell off even deeper. We trade into like 80K.
I feel like it was a combination of October 10th fallout and tax loss harvesting that just like really took things below where they should have been.
Yeah, the one thing that like I just can't shake is seeing unemployment trend higher. That to me just skews my higher time frame outlook immensely. Yeah, I mean, I can't look at what's going on in unemployment and that trending higher and think that like in 12 months everything's going to be fine and dandy, because I mean, typically speaking, when we see unemployment tick up meaningfully, there is some form of, there's an event, right? There's something that happens, you know.
My only counter to that is like, what is the level of concern truly?
It's hard to say. It's really because I mean the thing is
historically low unemployment for so long.
The thing is like Dorito put it in the comments section. Why is unemployment increasing? Because we're seeing optimization and automation or automation of everything, right? And so people are losing their jobs, but at the same time, it makes the companies more profitable, right? So I mean, it's like one of those things where like, what is the level? It's like hard to know what that level is. I'm going to be paying attention.
I think it's more about a trend.
Yeah. And it's just like, I have that in the back of my mind where it's like, I'm seeing the trend and I'm going to be optimistic until structure tells me otherwise. And I mean, structure is pointing higher right now in both unemployment and in equities.
I mean, look at this level of time. Like, look at the 80s, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like 79. Like, look at this shit, man. I mean, specifically like this window of time, it was choppy, but I mean, we had unemployment here at 5.7, went all the way up to 10 or 11, right? And you were still arguably in a high time frame uptrend. Like, it was choppy, kind of like it is now. But like this whole move here, all of this happened when unemployment was between like over 10% and 6%, right? So like this right here was at almost 11, bottomed out here at 5.89. Black Monday study, you know, but then we go over here and it's like, how do we even gauge where like the problems begin? Because we had such historically low unemployment here, this crazy spike because of COVID, thing gets completely bottomed out again. It's like, where is the level of concern?
The thing is like when you see double-digit unemployment, you actually shove.
Yeah.
Like you shove when you see double-digit unemployment because that's like the bottom. It's that period leading up until the like top in unemployment is the kind of more worrisome part. And if you look at 1981 and take a measured move from the high in 81 down to the low in 82, I'd love to know kind of what that drawdown was.
Where?
The high in was at 1981 down to the low in 1982. All the way up there to the top, yeah.
30.
And I'm not saying we have to go into like some massive deep recession. Just a little spooky for me, right? You see that trend start to shift higher. It's generally leading towards something. And that being like a bigger pullback, which would actually be fantastic because I think that the markets have not really granted this generation with an opportunity to buy, you know, like largely discounted or assets that are at largely discounted prices. I mean, if you didn't get that like 2-week time horizon during COVID, you didn't buy the lows during the COVID. I mean, this generation has not had an opportunity to buy like assets at super discounted prices. So I would welcome it.
Just do this though, you know, just like the stairway.
The last thing boomers can take from the Zoomers is passive index investing. You can best believe they will.
We need passive crypto index.
I'm going to dubiously speculate that at some point in the next like 10 to 15 years, we're going to have like a major divergence between crypto and equities, where like equities have just gigatopped.
I agree with that.
But crypto will continue to trend higher on a higher time frame.
Yeah, I agree with that. That would make sense if it's going to be an actual emerging asset class for real. I totally agree with that. Just the question is when. Maybe it's right now. Or maybe it comes out of a downturn, you know?
I think it'll come out of a downturn.
Yeah.
But I do think it's coming.
I don't know. Just like for me, it's just hard not to view this as some sort of like consolidation. This is ETH against SPX. Just some prolonged accumulation like this. And eventually we're just going to leave this. Just reprice. You know, it reminds me of like the like maybe a more muted version of like silver SPX, right? But like this is ultra high time frame. Just some like this chart's crazy, by the way. Let me see what this looks like.
It was a good signal to get long silver.
Oh my goodness, look at this though. What is that?
This is one of the ugliest charts. I just can't. Total. What we need is just a scam down and scam up now. Just like boom, up. And then we will all say it was crime, but we will cope with it regardless, and we just go to Valhalla. But it's looking so bad.
Look at the tether dominance chart. I mean, that looks pretty scary, right?
Yeah.
It's like ultra high time frame, you know.
So USDT right here looks a lot like it did right to the left before it broke out to all-time highs. Like it kind of struggled at that range high in the end of 2021, early 2022, and then it just ripped through the range.
Are you talking about this?
Yeah. We have that big inefficiency to the left. I don't think this makes new highs, but I think it does kind of fill that inefficiency that's to the left on the daily and the weekly, and then it rolls. It's very similar to the move the dollar did beginning of this 2025. We're in 2026 now. Like if you look at the dollar and the move it had, it's almost identical where it up thrusted, filled that inefficiency, had the same exact inefficiency, didn't make new highs, and then rolled.
I see what you're talking about.
So
you're talking about this.
Yeah. So that's kind of like why I'm saying
here, by the way.
Yeah. Like it I think we're close regardless, but I think there's one more up thrust left on this thing. But I could be psyoped because this chart has just been so annoying where every time you think it's going to break down, it doesn't. I could just be conditioned now at this point, waiting for that. But we'll see. If it rejects here, it does. But, you know, you left equal highs there, didn't take that high. You know, what, like, is that realistic to not come back and take that? I don't know. We'll see. But
you know what's crazy, boys, is the fact that when we've been seeing up days, we've been seeing industrials and shitcos running side by side, and the NASDAQ and ES trailing and lagging.
Yep.
It's crazy market. We're seeing the barbell of barbells happening right now, boys.
Do you have some charts on that, Prometheus, that you could share?
Yeah, I can pull some stuff up here.
Also, what do you guys think the odds are of the dollar going up from here rather than down?
It looks bad.
I don't think that that's bearish.
Oh,
I think
mean,
dollar moved down. Dollar index was. I think there is a large incentive for US. US has to refinance lots of its debt from 2020 this year, and it has insane amounts of incentives to bring the yields down, which is inherently bearish dollar, and I don't think it's coincidence they are going to appoint a new Fed chair as well. So interest rates lower, and DXY lower.
Well, I agree with that. I wouldn't say I'm bearish, or I wouldn't say I'm bullish rather on the dollar, but I am bullish on USD JPY. So at the very least, like I think the dollar is going to appreciate against the yen. And I actually think that could be quite significant appreciation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that would mean for the dollar index. I know there's a lot more that gets inputted into the dollar index, but I do think at the very least the dollar is going to really outpace the yen here.
all right, Prometheus, walk us through. What are you cooking?
Let him cook.
Dude, also bigger YouTube audience today.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Price is
TV
up.
viewership is
Yeah.
All
bomb.
it takes is like 1 or 2 days a pump.
Dude, nothing brings them back like a little bit of green in the market. Wow.
What are we at?
I don't know what the likes are at. We're at 162 on YouTube and on X like 1,000 or something, but it's like it's good. Towards December was bad, bro. December, nobody wanted to talk about crypto.
Elon's cooking those X numbers, man.
Yeah, he is. Like,
Those
can I just
books
get an
are
honest number, please? Thank you.
Yeah.
You boys ready for this catch-up trade? Yeah, I
Yes.
think
It's me like I
Can I
wear a
translate
mask
to
in my
crypto
car when I'm
finally?
alone.
What?
I said, explain the catch-up trade to me like I wear a mask when I'm in my car when I'm by myself, please.
Okay. Oh, that reminds me. Yesterday, I went into this shop. I'm not going to name the shop, but I walked in and every single person in there was wearing a mask, and I was just like, "Is this real life?" I was like,
in a time machine. I'm
I was
in a
like,
COVID loop.
I was like, "What is going on?" No, but I think it's really important and something that we've seen for really the last 12 months has just been a market and liquidity that's been dominated by a very, 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 very select few names. And arguably you could say it stems from the current, the current president, right? A lot of it stemmed from when Trump entered into office. We did see a rally around the November election, but after that, the beginning of 25, his main objective was initially to bring down the deficit, to curb spending, and then to implement tariffs. And that, had a big effect on trade relations, right? And so you saw a lot of liquidity within the markets become extremely scared and scarce. Nobody wanted to take anybody risk. And what did that mean? Is that meant that liquidity is going to go back into the same names that have done well since the 22 lows, right? And that was Mag7, that was the AI trade, and that was like semis, and that was about it. And then you also saw gold do well, right? Because you saw countries like China, Russia, the whole BRICS, everybody, they wanted to de-dollar, they wanted to get away from the dollar, right? And now what we're seeing is seemingly stability enter back into the market, right? You saw the United States over the weekend go and essentially just kidnap a president of a country. And you're seeing the markets rip right now. Now, is that because we're seeing a repricing of potentially trillions of dollars worth of oil and gold now have access to the markets that it did not have access before? I mean, that's a fantastic question. But people are kind of starting to realize that the current administration potentially can't do as much damage as what once was thought possible. And I think that's a big paradigm shift. And if we look at volatility in particular, which is the reason why I got bullish. Let me get all this junk off this chart. We're coming back to volatility because it's really important to pay attention to. Tommy talked about volatility at the beginning of the live stream, but volatility has been in a high time frame uptrend for a significant period of time, right? Since June of 24. And that, lo and behold, tells us that the regime, ever since the June of 24, has been in one direction. And that's arguably when the market started to probably price in that Trump was going to be entering into office because of the failure of what the Democratic president was at the time. Unfortunately, this is what it is. I'm not getting, political. That just is what it is, right? And because of that, we've been in this high time frame uptrend, and this has been a descriptor of the regime that we've been in since, for a significant period of time. Arguably, it's been 18 months at this point, right? And we've now broken that trend, right? If you want to put on, could we adjust this and, put it for a rollover? Sure. But putting it on for a rollover is, it kind of hides, the higher time frame trends, in my opinion, if you're looking at VIX futures. But if we're just looking at the raw VIX, right, we broke down from that trend. That means that liquidity now is going to be more reflexive for higher risk assets as of right now. Now, if you regain this trend, this then becomes deviation, and we can talk otherwise, right? And the point of inflection, interestingly enough, was back in the middle of December. And if you remember what happened back in the middle of December was we had a BOJ announcement. And we also had, at the same time, BTC at a key pivotal inflection point on the chart, right? You just had a breakdown from the yearly open. You had a break, down below that bear flag that we're putting in, yada, 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 right? We should have seen follow through. And what we actually saw was a complete lack of follow through, and bears failed miserably. And we can jump on over to the Bitcoin chart to view this. And if you were paying attention to Delta at this time, and Max made some fantastic new indicators, but down here at these lows, right, middle of December, you saw massive seller absorption, which led me to believe that you see a passive buy or you see a passive bid in the market right now, meaning that liquidity is essentially becoming optimistic.
Prometheus, can you show them that Delta actually? Do you have the ladders script up?
Yeah, I think I do. Yes, I do.
All right, add that on and do the start date. Do you already have it anchored to the low there?
I have it anchored to the low here, okay. Back at November of 21.
Go to the settings. Okay, and then scroll down to see where the bin filter is right there.
Yep.
Or no, sorry, up one more setting up. It says bin filter, like the section above.
Oh yes, okay.
Turn the filter mode to standard deviation, and do 1
on the
instead
threshold.
Of 2. Oh no.
Okay. I see.
Change that to 1. That's perfect. So now you can actually see. Like then you're good on the settings. You can just go back. So you can actually see how much like shorting and selling came in at that level. And then right above it, like see the most heavily shorted level was that point of control right there. That's not just volume, that's actual net positioning. And the bin filter grays out all the small ones. So you can just very easily see like the outliers, the important levels. So as you can see, like we basically are just blasting off that level. Like people, this is just a massive short squeeze and repositioning squeeze where people either shorted or sold into those levels. And now they're basically
freaking out.
They're becoming forced buyers or they're puking their shorts. It's one of the two.
Yeah, they're freaking out. And this exact day was the moment too. on the VIX in which we broke down, or essentially the day after, right? Because the move happened obviously during Asia sessions. So it happened then thereafter on that Friday. But most importantly, if we look at from a structural perspective, what led me to believe that, in fact, we were potentially going to be seeing continuation, and let me actually put this on the weekly, similar to what we saw leading into the April lows, was you had this high time frame structural uptrend, and then within it, you had a localized uptrend as well, a steeper trend. And within that same candle, you then had, right, because we retested this trend, right? We had a failed reclaim on the trend the week before, and then you were retesting it heading into this week. And it was very, very important from a bearish perspective that you reclaim that trend. And what we got a failed reclaim of the trend with confirmation, on the same week. And you broke down not only from our steeper localized trend, you then started to retest your higher time frame trend. Then following that week after, we saw a collapse in structure, which led me to believe that this is in fact a bear trap down here at the lows. And that's why I was being optimistic, I think is the name. I was being optimistic. And what we saw, in fact, too, is if you pay attention at these lows at 86, using this fantastic indicator that Max built out, was yes, we saw a lot of shorts entering into the market down here at these lows, but the passive bid that we saw first enter down here at these lows was continuing. And how can we describe that or visualize that on the chart? Is we saw them swapping into any form of localized selling. And we saw all these lows, interestingly enough, intact, which then led me to believe that your skew should be bullish. Your skew should not be bearish, seeing when this buyer stepped into this market, or plethora of buyers, then continue here at these lows time and time and time again. Lows are intact, positioning is protected, shorts continue to pile in here at the lows. This is indication that you should then be viewing higher, or you should be expecting higher here, locally speaking. That's what really tipped me off here. And now what I'm seeing within the market is, like Max said, is you're seeing an unwind, interestingly enough, in short positioning. And now the real question is, and you're seeing a squeeze put on shorts. And now the real question is everybody that shorted up here during the November, December highs on a lot of these altcoins, and the same with Bitcoin, are they going to defend this position? Because this is a very, very, very key contextual level, especially for Bitcoin. And now that the pressure is getting put on them, are they going to be defending this or not? And I would expect that they actually probably send this higher. You start attacking this liquidity. You have poor highs here at 96. This is your next level to be paying attention to. And then thereafter, what you should be paying attention to is, in fact, our 365-day rolling VWAP, because that's very important level, because from a key contextual standpoint, interestingly enough, your high time frame trend is still bearish until proven otherwise. And once we in fact start, if and when we start testing this 365-day rolling VWAP, will then give us a high time frame context on whether or not this was just an unwind in short positioning and squeezing them out of the market and some form of localized rebalancing, or whether or not we are getting a high time frame trend shift. Because as long as we remain underneath our 365-day rolling VWAP, the high time frame flows for Bitcoin are still skewed bearish. Not until we flip this, then do you see all the algos in the market then swap from bearish skew to bullish skew. So very, very important contextual level. Interestingly enough, it is also a retest of the key inflection point, or the key low that we put in before we headed for new highs at 120K before we created this supply. So if we come up into this value and we reject from said value and we roll off of this, you should absolutely be expecting all these stacked lows to get taken out. This accumulation was important for this localized price action, but in my opinion is not important for where we're headed. Your next point of interest is in the value down here that we set back during our long-term range in 24, and the value within that range is at 68. And I think
let me ask you one question. Can you scroll back on your chart to 2022?
Yes.
I want to just take a look at that shoulder. See how we actually rallied above the yearly VWAP there?
Yes.
I think if we are going to be bearish, I think a lot of people are going to short a little bit too early. Like probably even front run the yearly VWAP. I feel like if we are going to be bearish, it's going to be from above that level, truthfully. Just to send us materially lower at this point, I think you'd need so much long delta to get trapped above 100 again. I think we just simply ran out of fuel. Like that's what we saw at the lows. And I think that happens above 100K. So maybe it's like a perfectly clean retest of your range high there, like that horizontal line under the 18 weeks of supply. But my gut's telling me that that yearly open is going to get flipped temporarily. We may just continue up. Like I'm open to that too. Again, like I'm siding with the robots, but I feel like that's almost a little too obvious or something. I don't know how else to put it, but I feel like the trap would be set higher than that personally.
Yeah, I think that there is absolutely an opportunity for it. And based off of how disgusting the PA has been lately and how manipulative, really price action has been, it would be pretty evil for them to, then, right, we've trapped 18 weeks of buyers up here at these highs, some of my family members included. And then for them to do the same, because if you think about it, and a lot of people, I shouldn't say a lot of people, but people are under appreciating how heavy this supply is going to act, in my opinion, right? You have a lot of trapped buyers. You got to remember, up in this region, you have Solana digital asset treasury companies, Ethereum digital asset treasury companies. You have MicroStrategy. You have ASST. You have all these digital asset treasury companies. You have massive amounts of flows in regards to the ETF that are now all heavily underwater. And I think if you have an opportunity to reclaim, like you said, kind of this 107K region, it's going to probably take a significant period of time to chew through
Can
all
you
of
go
the
back
supply.
in time and look at summer of 2021 also?
Sure.
The reason I point that out is we had a very similar potential setup. Like, look at the supply right there, right? So we launch off the low, fire into that supply, get a nasty shakeout, but ultimately ended up conquering that supply. I mean, that supply right there was just as bad as the supply we have now, or at least pretty close, right? Similar structure, smaller market at the time, but similar froth, similar distribution. I could see something like this happening, like we pump up into that supply 107, 108, nasty shakeout. And then from there, we just kind of have to reassess, right?
So we go to new all-time highs and then rock.
Well, I don't even know if there's any merit in forecasting what 3 to 6 months out would look like. I just am more like month by month at this point. Yeah. But I could see something like this playing out, just given the similarity and how there's such obvious supply overhead. The amount of people that thought that second red box you have right there was just like the obvious shoulder, and they shorted it and they were right for like 3 weeks and then just got wrecked on that move to new all-time highs, FOMO'd back in, and then got literally wrecked on the way down. I mean, that was one of the more predatory moves that you could possibly construct, was a 55% pullback mid-cycle, pump it up into an obvious shoulder, nuke it, but then actually send it to new highs very, very slightly. This is a masterclass in just wrecking retail. This whole structure, absolute masterclass. I could see something like this.
The one issue from a contextual standpoint versus what I kind of marked out is one, the lows that we set in back here was a high time. It was a high time frame accumulation, and you were above your 365-day rolling VWAP. So algos were still very much in max bid territory, right? Whereas now, if you look at the structural lows we're putting in, or the lack thereof, this is a hideous, hideous low to be putting in. And something I was thinking about was, if we in fact do go to new highs from here, you're going to like 200 plus K easy. And the reason why I say that is because the only time you leave in lows like this, the only time that lows are left in like this, is when you have a complete change in the dynamic of the asset class, right? And interestingly enough, I think Tommy,
or a recovery from a black swan.
That exactly. And it's the shift that happens, right? And if you look to post-COVID, like this did not look like a super like for me, this was not like this is a high time frame low, right? This, granted, it seemed kind of like a V recovery. Then did this really look like a low? And once we left these lows, we've never come back to reprice it, because that was a structural shift for the asset class as an entirety, right? In its entirety. And so at this point, in my opinion, is yes, if this was a black swan and we had Binance secretly blowing up in the back end, and, CZ was going to Jack Ma and, all these people for money to stabilize Binance, and nobody ever knows about it or hears about it. And it was the black swan, the unknown black swan, right? The invisible black swan, we'll call it, trademarked here because Bitcoin. Then this, to me, is a complete structural shift in the dynamic of the asset class. And we're going to be going to like a quarter mil, like without a doubt.
And I think that you can make the argument that we really are below fair value, certainly relative to equities. Like, it's impossible to know what we would be looking at right now for Bitcoin, ETH, and shitcoins if October 10th never happened. I mean, that was the black swan of black swans. I know it happened at the all-time high effectively for Bitcoin, but the fact that altcoins dropped -70 to -90% in a matter of minutes because there was some like market making glitch on Binance that does like 80% of all the volume in crypto. I mean, we might not even be close to where we're at right now. We could be like chopping around, consolidating on ETH under 4K or something, looking more like we should, trading closer to the Russell. So the most bullish case, in my opinion, is that like that actually is the case. And US equities are going to rip and small caps rip. And we shouldn't be down here. And the lows look how they look because it was a black swan. And they don't need to be cleaned up. We're just simply going to reprice higher because global assets are going to reprice higher.
If Bitcoin makes...
Max is trying to desperately defend every possible scenario why we are bullish.
I like the think tank, though. I like the idea crafting we're having right now.
If Bitcoin makes new highs from here, I think you're gonna have over the next few years, we're gonna have some of the funniest price action in the asset class ever. I don't know, I think you're right, Prometheus. For one, if we break the highs, you should be targeting probably 200 to 250K per Bitcoin. But I also think if we do get that in 2026, the bear market is going to be so nasty, nastier than people can even fathom. It's it's going to psyop people into thinking the 4-year cycle doesn't exist. As a collective, we would be sold on that idea, and then I think the only proper response would be to send Bitcoin down. I'm not even going to say the number, but it would be it would be really nasty. So I don't know. I'm going to dubiously speculate that if we make a new high on Bitcoin, I think the bear market is going to be oh my God, it's going to be so much fun. I'm already excited for that potential. Like, I know in this scenario we'd have like this amazing bull market first, but like, yeah, oh man, Doomerlax would have to come out for a few years.
I'm fine
Maybe
with that,
not
man. Just give me the volatility. I don't really care.
Yeah, same.
I would actually enjoy that much more. Like, give me right tail, then right tail, then left tail. You know what I mean? Just whipsaw, crazy swings both ways.
I mean, how Bitcoin would it be to like make everybody forget that we had a 4-year cycle, or that 4-year cycles like just no longer exist? We're in this new paradigm, and then draw down like more than any of the last 2 or 3 cycles. Like, that would be hilarious to me. Maybe not if you're a bag holder, but I don't know.
Very hilarious.
Don't miss the top this time.
So much fun.
The one thing I will say is I look at like the total 3 ES chart, for instance, and like again, just like again, like trend is very much telling me that we should be bearishly leaning. Our cyclical trend line broken. Again, same thing. 365-day rolling VWAP
that diagonal. We're flying. I'm putting it out there right now. If we tuck back above that and consolidate for a week, launch pad. We've seen that pattern before many times.
Yeah, I look at this and I'm like, man, are we so back? And like two as well. To me, this just seemed so distributive. And for this move to have been it for altcoins, to me is just like would be mind blowing. Right.
Yeah. No, I have absolutely the same thoughts, Prometheus. Like, it makes no sense. Like, as much as we would all want it, like 2021 just straight up from here, the only argument I'm really like finding reasonable is it just looks so bad. They just camped it down. They will just camp it up. But when you like look at it actually, there is not much reason here. And I hate it. I hate that I'm seeing that. So hopefully, as Mark says, we reclaim that trend line and we just boom, straight to new highs.
And on that note, that takes us to the end of the show. Tommy,
all right, guys,
take us out, brother.
Hopefully you guys enjoyed the stream. We're already getting some great volatility to start this year. I am begging the market for it to continue. And hopefully to continue providing clarity on the ultimate high time frame directionality of this market. But if you enjoyed Market Check today, if you enjoyed the conversations that we had discussing kind of all of the different paths that the market could take from here, make sure to, for one, like and subscribe if you have not done so already. I haven't checked the like button today, but I would like to think that the like button bear market has ended. Fingers crossed. But a reminder that we do these shows Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday when the New York Stock Exchange is open, and our typical start time is around 11:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. But also make sure to finish up your day with Market Talk. That is an X Spaces hosted through the Because Bitcoin X account by King Wabi. He does an incredible job on those spaces. And we've been having some great guests really throughout the holiday season. I mean, I know the market's been slow, but Market Talk has been producing really high quality spaces. So check that out as well, guys. Our typical start time for those shows is around 3:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So make sure to finish up your afternoon later today with Wabi. And we'll see you guys back here on Wednesday for the next episode of Market Check. But until then, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you for spending the beginning of your 2026 with us here at BB. And of course, as always, guys, stay safe.
Tired of outdated trading tools, confused charts, dozens of tabs, endless stress? You're not alone. Introducing BB Terminal, your all-in-one command center for crypto trading. Track your portfolio, monitor the markets, stay ahead, all in one place. From chaos to clarity, from struggle to success. BB Terminal.